hour, 1 minute past the 3 o'clock hour here in the East. Looking like the Qs are trying to do a little bit of a something. I mean, we almost completely closed the gap
Yeah.
from this morning's bump, but yeah, fun stuff. GP absolutely loves this market. He said that in our group text earlier that he just couldn't wait to talk about how great this thing is. Um, there's a twat, and here goes a tweet, and we're off and running on the old podcast. Hi guys,
Hello.
Howdy.
I am back in the office. Boy, do I miss the beach. It was wonderful to have some time with the family. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend it. But anyway, it is what it is. We're back to our normal lives, and we're all back in our same situation. I mean, it's so the same for GP. He hasn't even showered today. He's got some Saints hat on. Nick never showers. We can smell him through the computer wire web every time. But
I
Nick,
shower. I just don't want.
does things get caught up in your beard and just randomly you're like, oh, that's where that sunflower seed went that I dropped or whatever.
Yeah, save it for later.
All right, all right, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right. So this is about all we got since this is the penultimate episode before the election. Next week is the last episode before the election. So GP really doesn't have a reason for us being here, as stated in the prior 3-4 weeks of podcast. So I'll let you guys just take it away.
I mean, I think it's kind of like interesting timing with all the megas reporting this week. It's kind of like setting up a. I mean, if you just kind of look at all them set up. In my thinking, I've been trying to kind of think through the if thens, and obviously, anytime we're approaching earnings, I would prefer to see either gap downs get bought up and get bought up quickly, or just straight gap and goes rather than just like the opposite, either a gap up and fade or a gap down and just completely roll. So the way things are setting up, I mean, the saying applies, like, don't confuse brains with a bull market. I mean, the trend is up, so it's like, as long as you're in alignment with the trend, it's like you're not really that smart. You're just smart enough to be in alignment with the trend.
Just smart enough
So
to go with it.
The
yeah.
question is, though, were you smart enough to get to this point?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
And so that's the bigger question, because if you were part of the camp that we were in a downtrend and we didn't double bottom in 2022, then
Yeah,
you're not, right? So
totally.
like you can say that, okay, everyone's a genius in a bull market, but did you recognize that the bull market started 2 years ago, not yesterday? So
Yeah.
that's the question that happens here that's important, I think, overall theme, right?
Well, yeah, I
Kind of
mean,
had
if
those. You had those two
I can
opportunities. You
understand
had
if
base.
someone didn't participate or make it off the mat at the early stages of 2023, but I feel like at this point, if you didn't reestablish any investments that you had, you definitely missed the boat. And it's like, what in the hell were you waiting on to give you that fired up signal? I mean, if nothing else, last year at this same exact time, if you weren't invested, why not? Right?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
the two opportunities
well,
you
I don't
either.
think you missed the boat.
Yeah, maybe you entirely missed the boat, but the boat started taking off in the spring of 23, right? And if you weren't on the boat by this time last year, like, come on.
Yeah.
You're sitting on your hands because you're miserable bear syndrome, I guess. I don't know.
Unless you're Tesla, you're always right. Yes. That's been a it's the only thing that's working in this market, oddly enough. There's only one stock across the board that is working without fail. Can you guys guess it?
XLE,
Oh,
Stock, not ETF.
Chevron, Exxon. No, I'm being facetious.
Yes.
NVIDIA?
Only one stock that is not NVIDIA.
Oh, shoot.
Apple.
Nope. The guy who runs it, his name is Michael.
Oh, Mister. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
Look at the strength in MicroStrategy. It does not give two shits what Bitcoin is doing. It does not care. This is the only guy who
Saylor's not the
runs it.
CEO anymore. He's out.
Sailor's not the CEO?
Yeah, he's out. He got tossed to the curb like 8 or 9 months ago, right?
I don't know. I thought he was because he's still out
Did it
there
really?
pumping it.
I thought so.
Oh man. I
I
shit.
think he's still on the board. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Maybe yeah, former CEO of MicroStrategy. He's no longer the CEO. He's the executive chairman, though.
No one gives a shit who the CEO is.
Well, you just said CEO. I'm just making it a matter of fact. It's okay.
Yes, yes. No, you're right. You're right. But still, no one gives a shit. Um, because their CEO is Bitcoin. And
Yes.
and it's front run Bitcoin by 25% so far.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. So
You've talked about it a lot. Do you have anything at play in MicroStrategy GP?
yes.
Okay.
More in Connell, of course, because that's how the market goes.
You have any, Nick? Are you invested in MicroStrategy at all?
Yeah. I sold well, how much did I sell? I sold half of it on Friday of my trade. Um, I'm obviously kicking myself for that,
Yeah,
but
it gave you 10 more % today, didn't it?
yeah.
It's not done though. It's not even close to, in my opinion, it's not even close to
Yeah,
done. Unless it's
if
front
you look
unless
at the
it's front
daily,
run the entire Bitcoin move.
if you look at the daily, I mean, it's 27% off of its range, but it still looks good.
Mon-
It's getting extended for sure. But whenever these things get extended, I like to see the blowout moves, not these grind up moves. So you had one gap up today. You'll get hopefully you get a second gap up tomorrow, a third one on Wednesday, and then you can talk about like capitulation type moves, right? So that's kind of it's breaking out of space. It's kind of effed around the 200 level for a couple of weeks, and now it gapped over all of that. So the thought process here on when you see these types of patterns is um, it's like three white soldiers or the three gap ups, but the three gap up rule is what I'd like to see from MicroStrategy over the next 2 days. Um, and then you can talk about potential like blow off moves. So, and this is all happening while Bitcoin is still under 70 grand. So,
Range bound.
yeah, yeah. And so it's possible that the move then transfers from MicroStrategy to Coinbase, but they both have earnings this week, so I'm not that I think it matters at all unless Coinbase reveals why it's been so weak. Some I don't know, SEC investigation or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that news on Friday, I believe it was on Tether, right?
Yeah, which was fake.
Yeah.
So maybe they just got the name wrong and they meant Coinbase, but Coinbase has underperformed the asset class by a long shot. Right, look at the miners. Miners are doing well too. Wolf, Beast,
yeah.
Hut, Beast.
Even
Yeah.
IBKR is breaking out today. I kind of watch.
Iron Beast. You see Iron today?
Yeah.
That's a Randy name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. So
Hey, Nick, I wanted to ask you though. I was
Sure.
pulled up. I don't usually turn on the daily, But I wanted to get your thought on what this daily of the Qs look like. I turned the moving average off there, but you have that candle and then that now followed by today's. Do you take anything away from that price action with a little gap in between, or you just chalk it up to everybody's it's basically premium burn, right? We've talked
I
about, and it's just up and down to screw people out till next week.
Yeah, I think the breakout was through 485, just on the way that I was looking at the cues was an ascending triangle. Um, and so with the top of that base through 485, so the action today and Friday, I definitely sold down on Friday just to just to take some off the table, not in the cues in particular, but just individual stocks. Um, And as of right now, price is just, it's above the 10-day, above the 20-day. Moving averages are stacked. So I'm trying not to pay too much attention to the individual candles. Like obviously if we saw something
Right.
like let's say price would have gapped up above 500 or even 505 and then just complete like we saw like a crazy outside reversal,
Yep.
then I might pay attention to it a little bit more. But um
So how do you play this? Sort of like 490 would kind of be a spot to watch,
um
or back down to 485.
Yeah, if I guess if price got under 493, I'd start maybe getting a little defensive. And then yeah, definitely 485. If price got under 485,
Big time warning
you have
shot.
yeah, you've got the 50-day at 480, which again, like I don't generally look at moving averages
Yeah.
as like hardcore support resistance. But that 485, I kind of look at it as a breakout failure. And the bull in me would still be like hoping that we put in a higher low with the 200-day, catching up to price. But I wouldn't discount a move back to like 430s if we saw like a hardcore breakout failure for whatever reason.
Is that how you see it, GP?
Um, I see it
Or
as
nothing matters until after next Tuesday?
so. Yes. That's pretty much all it is. It's
Yeah, so it could dip under 485, it could hit 485, and as long as it's not mid to late next week, you kind of don't care.
as in, if you so that's the cues on its own, but take a look at almost every chart that's sitting underneath, right? So whatever the
Yeah.
cues do, is not that relevant to me compared to what's sitting underneath. And your your Apples, your Googles, they all are kind of just well, even up Google, they tried to shake out today on some nonsense news, and it's getting bought up, right? And then you have your Amazons and stuff like that. So the ones that keep the markets intact, they're kind of keeping range bound, so that's okay. But I think the bigger opportunity remains in the small caps, right? And that's my thought process is that everyone and their mother is waiting for election results for small caps to break out. So there's two ways to think about this, which is it breaks out this week and we take out all-time highs or get close to it, and no one's expecting that at all. There's not a single person in the FinTwit universe that would call for all-time highs on IWM by Friday. But you heard it here first.
Yeah.
And the second part of that is everyone's waiting for the elections to play out. It's one of those obvious, yes, it's going to happen that way, but more often than not, when there's so many eyes, take a look at Bitcoin on levels and points in time, the opposite ends up happening, which is elections breakdown, right? So my thought process is that the IWM is gonna start to break, if not all-time highs, pretty damn close to it, like 240, 241-ish by the end of the week as possible here is what I think. They're not, I can't imagine them making it really easy to just buy calls on Tuesday night for IWM and then you get paid shitloads of money. I don't know. That
Yeah, we,
seems,
we we talked about that, right? That maybe they run it up a little bit early, right? We talked about that.
yeah. And if you look at
You think that's the
2020,
most likely scenario for the small caps, particularly?
yeah, take a look at the 2020 kind of small caps run. It almost ran into all-time high-ish for small caps this particular week, I think. What was all-time high then? Or maybe not all-time highs, but like the COVID highs.
Yeah, after the week of the election, it ran up to the COVID highs,
Yeah,
and then
and
the
then broke
following
out.
week, yeah, after the race was called, that's
Yeah,
gapped up
yeah, that was a gap up and go, but it kind of
right there.
it started on 10:30 or
Yeah,
10:30.
it was definitely a bullish week. I mean, it was up 6.8%, but it was
Yep.
near its lows in that range, right? And it got up to COVID highs, and then after it was set, after the election was called, then that's when it took another leg. It gapped up.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking at like the chart, like some of the best looking charts are sitting in the small cap arena or mid cap arena, right? Like if you're looking at them, that's kind of where I'm sitting because they have monster bases to kind of move from. So I don't think anyone on Friday was expecting small caps to be up 2%, 1.5% today either, right? So I think that's your first kind of sign of, well, whatever you were expecting, that's not what's happening here. Because based on Friday's candle, which was a bearish engulfing candle, um, there's not a single person uh, that thought small caps would have this type of move, and it's maintained strength all day while they fuck around and find out in SPY and Qs.
Would you play some TNA as opposed to just IWM? TNA
Yeah,
is
you could do
three
either
times
one.
levered.
I think you can do either one. Give yourself time, obviously, because this thing has been range bound forever. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you look at the strength in regionals today, another indication, right? Um,
Well, I mean, just looking at TNA, which is 3x IWM, basically. I mean, all-time highs for it. That's a double, right? You're going from 44 up to 90.
yeah, yeah. And you can see the weakness that continues to be in the mega caps, right? Which is look at Microsoft today, red, look at Netflix, even after breaking out, has done nothing since, right? So this is the miserable trader of Netflix, but this
Nick,
is
would you be on the small caps train as opposed to jumping on one of the large caps with weakness?
Yes. I mean, I'll probably be taking a conjunction of both realistically. I don't really plan on I don't really plan on selling much of anything that I have on currently if I mean unless I get stopped out or share get stopped out. But uh I was gonna go back to the cues
Okay.
just quick, like kind of back to that higher low comment. You have that gap, that gap that we gapped up from 471 to whatever it was, 482. But the
Mm-hmm.
low of kind of the gap range was 478-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of again, if like we kind of fell back into the range, that's kind of where I would be looking at to see if we put it in another higher low. And I kind of like again looking at the megas, like I agree with GP. They all look they feel compressed to me. Like they feel like they're being I don't know, like I said, I think it's a big week for all of them and how they play it out, I still think the resolution is going to be to the upside.
Would it be um Would you sort of set your buy at the 477, 478 mark, or would you put that as your stop?
If I was getting involved in the queues in particular, I'd probably just I'd probably throw orders in at 481.
481. Yeah.
Yeah, my stop would actually I'd want my stop to be probably about 469. So I'd be giving it a little bit of room.
Our friend Pratt's in the chat, and he wanted us to know that Fong Lee is the CEO of MicroStrategies.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell him that it's still Michael Saylor.
He's listening, so he heard you.
Yes. It's actually just Bitcoin. Bitcoin's its CEO. So
Well, last time we talked, Tesla hadn't reported yet, and they reported now. Yeah, they reported on what was it? Thursday? Is that right? Yeah, Thursday.
Wednesday after market. Thursday is the
Wednesday after. Yeah, Wednesday after market, the price action came in after market, and then Thursday day pushed higher, and now just a little bit of a give back. Anything to be concerned about, or we're just wasting breath until next week?
I mean, if you have a position, like if you're a longer term holder, uh, and are looking to add, I'd be adding all the way down to 450. Even, I'm sorry, 250,
You
not
would be
five.
adding here. You'd be adding.
I mean, I want to see it pull in a little bit more. Um,
Because I can argue you've had weeks and months to add.
yeah, but think about, I'm just talking about the people that wanted to wait for this. They wanted to wait to see it report or wanted to add on strength versus weakness. I didn't see many people, wanting to add prior to earnings versus the 200-day at
Nope.
all. They're all
Nope.
like,
And do you
burned.
know how many people were shorting after
Dude,
that move on
I
earnings?
I remember I asked the same
yeah.
question of you guys. Would you be adding here last Monday before earnings? And both of you were like, nah, nope, I'm good.
Yeah, but why would I when I added in sub 200, right? There's no
Yeah,
point for me.
right. Because at that point, you're wrecking your average price going into an EPS announcement. Why not just sit and hold if you have a sub 200 and let it work? And then if it does sell off, a dollar cost average down, if you already have a low cost basis.
All right, so here's my next Tesla question, and either one of you can answer it. So feel free to jump in.
Yes.
We all know Tesla's been a one direction voter with his $1 million giveaway for voter registration, right?
Yeah.
Does Tesla see any negative impact if Trump doesn't win?
I think initially you will. I think longer term, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I mean that has nothing to do with the chart, right? Like that's
Yeah.
just market or investor sentiment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I don't even think it matters short term. I think flow is all that matters in Tesla short term. And there's only been, I think we talked about it last week or the week before, there have only been two moments in Tesla history that has ever caused an expansion move in the stock price, and they're both earnings related. Not robo taxi, not going private, not going anything except for profitability in 2013 and sustained profitability moving forward in 2019 when they finished up their Model 3 ramp up. And they said we'll no longer be unprofitable moving forward. And so that was the key part. The question is this earnings the catalyst to show you that they are done losing margin compression? Because now they've done it 2 consecutive quarters and their margins are now expanding again. So, and you saw some insane margin expansion in their energy business, which is, I think, sitting at like 30% or something like that, 31%. Is this the earnings that breaks Tesla free? So far, I think that's the case. they will try to like my thought process coming into this morning is they're going to try to break above 271. They are not going to accomplish it. Everyone's going to get short because that has been the exact same scenario playing out for the last 3 years. Gets to a pivot, gets sold, and then it dies again, right? So why wouldn't you take that shot as a short, or even as a trader? Why wouldn't you take that shot here? Because it's done that for 3 years consistently. And so I think they get punched in the face by the end of the week. So that's what I'll be watching for if it doesn't, and it
Sure.
does go down. And so, Nick, the thing I will say is 254.50 is your level in Tesla. Like, take a look at that gap down from October 2022. On the daily, you can see every single attempt, even if it goes over by like 20-30%, it gets rocked, like literally gets rocked for nonstop weeks on end. So that's your level to watch. We retested that on Friday morning and ripped higher to 269 or whatever. So that's your line in the sand, in my opinion, on whether this has a trend change. So if you get a pullback here to that 254.50-ish area, give or take $1, because Tesla's wild, it's the area that you need to see buyers step in and step in hard. So if this pullback does continue in Tesla, which I don't think it will past today, that's the level you should be watching. And if it goes below that, I would be shorting the ever loving piss out of it, because the character has not changed.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Pratt brought up, could this be the COVID summer 2020 run? We talked about this with Cookie, and we talked about this without him. There's a lot of similarities in that 2017 to 2019 formation with what we've been doing in 2021 through present day. It's a little bit bigger scale over here, but there's some similarities there. History, doesn't always repeat, but sometimes it rhymes and patterns are the same. So maybe Pratt. I mean, I'm long Tesla, but I would love to see that happen. I'm not predicting it, but there's some similarities. Um, and I think GP, just to add on to what you were saying, like it's kind of at an inflection point right now, right? Like it's got to get above that sort of 290 area to show that it's going to release. So obviously you love to see the 20% gain post earnings, but it's still not released from the range that it's been in for the majority of 3 years, right?
Yeah. There's still so that's the thing, and then I think we'll know by February or March whether it's released or not. But in
Yeah.
the meantime, if you're looking for stuff like that 254.50 level has been the cat for a little over 2 years now. So if we break that and close below that, whether it's daily or if it's weekly, for sure, short the ever loving piss out of it. But if it's a daily, it might just be a false break underneath for one day and then run back up. But that's the level that you got to be watching, because um
This
it's
pink line right
volume.
here, right there.
Yeah, that line, right? Look at how prominent that line is. So their their earnings are the only thing. Fundamentals is the only thing that releases the stock. Always. Whether then it runs on those fundamentals is a different conversation, but that's the only thing that has released the stock in a decade of breaking out, right? So, uh, and you need to start seeing take pivots. So the first thing I noticed last week was I would have expected it to close above 271 last week, and it didn't. So because it didn't, I assumed that it was going to try today and fail, right? Because
And that's
that's
what happened.
yeah, and that's been the typical pattern. So now the question is, does it fail continuously right back down to the depths of hell, or do buyers step in and say, okay, well, we can buy this? And part of this is that this stock just isn't institutionally owned. It's 45% institutionally owned. So when these earnings fundamentals or whatever, the runs happen, or these monster runs happen, because all of these funds are like, oh crap, we're gonna miss the boat. We got to pile back in, which is why there's such volatile and crazy moves in the stock, right? Like even in 2020, you can talk about how it broke out from what was it, 380 at the time, pre-split price, or 386 was an all-time high, went
Oh,
all
I
the way
don't
to,
know.
yeah, it was 386, I think. It went to all-time because it was 386 when he announced the 420 buyout and everyone was pissed, right? And so even that move went from 386 all the way to 950 something in the next 4 months. And then in 1 month went right back and tested 356, 386 again. So it's got wild moves, but you got to see the volume patterns that are forming to identify whether it's a bigger or better move. And so if you're expecting day-to-day accuracy on Tesla, that's a hard one to accomplish.
Nick, you see it the same way?
Um, I totally, I feel you. I'm not gonna point to any fundamental stuff, but technically, I totally agree with that line at 250-ish. Near term, I think that the biggest candle or level to watch is the gap up candle, because that's the high volume candle in the near term chart, the highest volume. So price could very easily gravitate towards the high or the low of that candle, um, and hold. I threw some fibs on just from the gap down up to highs, and the 50% is kind of sitting at 542.
Okay.
I don't, yeah, I mean, personally, I wouldn't be looking to short it. Um, I think that when the 200-day is kind of flatlined like it is, I think that makes it difficult for it to move directionally because price has got to pull that moving average, and it's going to take a bunch to move that moving average up. The bullish thing about Tesla is, and why I would like say, like, this time is different kind of thing, is we are getting that pull in the monthly MACD, which I like to see it. And I again, with Tesla overall market conditions, I'm just more inclined to look for long-sided trades versus the short side. I don't do well holding shorts, especially overnight. I don't know, it's just me.
No, it's miserable, man. It's just try to short crowd.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, that's all I would say with Tesla. So like I think even a bull, especially momentum traders, are looking for like that Minervini hot, like that volatility contraction here. So like if price just kind of decided to hold sideways here for a week or two, it would allow you to really define risk to the long side, because you could definitively say like, all right, for whatever reason, I'm going to use the gap as my risk. So that means whatever I'm doing, I'm looking at, like, let's say 230s as my risk, where I'm going to say, all right, I'm fucking wrong. If you're not paying attention, let's say that 250 level.
Yeah.
Like if you're just looking at the trade from, you know, basically July forward.
Yeah, it's I don't ever see Tesla trading sideways.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not. Yeah,
unless it's the 9 days before earnings. Um, you don't often see it trading sideways after big moves. It's either gonna give it all back, or it's gonna go for glory. And
you know,
glory above is 280, 299, 315, 355, 414.
if this thing does break out, you think we see a gap through there, or do you think we see like a breakthrough there.
So pull up the daily chart on Tesla. Is that the daily?
No, that's weekly. There's
Okay.
the daily.
So you see, right in when was that? I think hold on. The June 28th candle, right? So that June 28th candle tried to break out, was red, did
Oh yeah,
not, right? So, and that's at the top of the range here. So you have a similar kind of look.
yeah.
And so Tesla to me does not do sideways on expansion moves. You might
It's
get a
just
day or two. So I would like to see if Tesla is going to have a change of character. I would like to see the next 3 to 5 candles look like that.
yeah, that'd be sick.
Straight
Yeah.
up.
That's a it went from 197 to 271 in 9 trading days. So right, that what that tells you is that there's demand for the stock post earnings. It tells you that there's a shift of character, all that kind of stuff. So I don't want, it's been at 250 too damn long for it to go back and retest it and not fail. To be honest, technically, if it's going back there, it is range bound for another 6 months or whenever, whatever, whatever. You need it to be small pullbacks. You need it to be decisive. You need it to be impressive, right? And that's kind of going back and testing these ranges to let who in, right? You've been here for fucking 2 years. Like, like if you're gonna get in. You're not getting in at 250 all of a sudden, right? So, um, that or 230 or whatever it is, right? So because the people who are not getting in here looking for a pullback are looking for a pullback to 160 or 120 or 100 or whatever. They're the perma shorts or perma bears in Tesla. So I don't personally think you want it to go much lower than the 254 to 258 range, which is the uh October 2022 deliveries gap down and October 2024 gap down area. That's kind of the range you'd want it to stay in. But it's Tesla. It is wild. It has been wild for almost 20 years. It does not do unwild.
Let's take a quick look at our stomp picks for the quarter. We're a few weeks in.
Uh-oh.
Wayfair, just yeah, maybe she stuck with snow. I don't know.
How's DJT doing?
I have no clue. I don't keep that on. I don't keep that on the radar. Uh, BRT is doing all right, Nick.
Yeah, just hanging in there. It's not
You're
going
just hanging in there. Snow, much the same. It bottomed out a couple weeks ago, but kind of treading water up here in the one teens. So not much to doing. We'll look at DJT for GP's sake. Wow, yeah, it ran, didn't it?
Yeah.
That was a big boost today.
Yeah, yeah. This is going to be a fun short whenever it happens.
30% in 2 days. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun short when it happens, but it's not now.
Like, does
Uh,
it just completely get annihilated if he doesn't get elected?
It's going to get annihilated anyway. It's worth like $10 billion and makes 20 grand a year. Dude, it's like it's the stupidest thing on the planet, right? Like
Okay,
it's the
okay.
biggest pump and dump scheme on the planet. So whether he
Yeah.
wins or loses, I don't give two shits about that. It's more about the fact that it's just running on fumes. And it's fine to run on fumes as long as there's buyers, but as soon as those buyers disappear, it's game over.
Maybe Twitter and DJT merge or something.
No, Elon's dumb, but he's not that dumb.
Yeah, fair.
Elon's not going to write another check
Yeah.
on behalf of Twitter.
He might want Trump elected, but he does not want him running any business that he owns. So,
Yeah.
right? So like I said, Elon's wild, Elon's all these things, but he is not a dumb man. So will he make bets that people think are Yeah. It's not happening. It's just not happening. Why would he buy Truth Social when he has Twitter? He bought Twitter for the reason of Truth Social. They're
Yeah.
direct competitors.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Well, and
Should do is buy
the
Netflix. So it
majority
could
of
be
people
fast.
who have Truth Social accounts will have a Twitter account. They just have many of them have forgone it, but some of them have doubled down. We've talked about the cesspool that is Twitter. Like it has become unbearable over there. I just use it to post gifs and the podcast. That's really
Yeah.
it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
really,
post stuff on there.
the way I use Twitter, I went so hard in the paint on mute words. Like, I mean, pretty much everything political, almost everything COVID, and then any other like, basically, yeah, any of the hate crap, like almost religious stuff. Like I've muted. Um, I don't know. I guess that's kind of why I probably take to Twitter in the way that I do. Mainly, I use TweetDeck and I have columns like set up. I have columns set up with like specific users in each column. So it's like a curated. It's like basically perfectly curated for exactly what I want. Which I wish StockTwits would bring back their TweetDeck like the desktop platform because it was awesome. Like if I just wanted to follow you bags, like I could create a column that just had you and it was just a constant scrolling feed.
Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you should just follow me. I post the
Yeah.
best content when I post it. It's
Okay.
usually like steaks and chicken. I mean, GP probably wouldn't care for that, but I mean, if you're a carnivore, you love my feed.
It
That's the
took
stocks I'm talking about. That's
it took StockTwits a decade to put in search. You think they're going to put back TweetDeck?
hey, Nick's repping today. He's got his shirt on, so hey, get off his lawn.
I mean, I have a good time chirping with all the guys, and
I love
I
the platform, but they are not known for bringing things to market in a quick manner.
yeah, I don't really know what they got going on.
I think
Uh,
Howard being there has lit a fire, which is great. So
GP, I don't know if you saw, but Nick invited us to the Stocktoberfest for next year. I wasn't paying attention, but
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
it
hey,
sounds
I think
like a
we
good
could
time.
blow up the scene.
yeah, I looked at it even this year, but the hotel prices were like I think 500 a night. I'm like, you know what? I can spend my money better elsewhere.
Agreed.
So
I'll share.
you want to meet somewhere like Hawaii instead for 500 a night? So
Love it.
yeah,
Love it.
Yeah, yeah.
I it's a cool concept, but I think
I love Perlman. He's
yeah,
my guy. Like I love everything he puts out about health, mindset, wellness. I think he's such a like genuinely cares about people kind of guy. I don't even think
yeah, I like Pearl.
I don't know if he was even I don't know, was he a founder of StockTwits or just kind of like buddies with Lenzen? I'm not really quite sure. I've never actually been really asked, but
I don't know the history.
anyways. Yeah.
Well, as we're talking, Tesla's hitting new lows. Fun times.
Wee! Skibbity-doo! Skibbity!
MicroStrategy is about to clear 260. Bitcoin is about to clear 70,000.
Yeah.
Um,
All the miners are ripping.
yep.
Coin.
And coin is not ripping. Coin is doing what it's doing.
It's still going out at highs though.
6% versus
I
11%.
mean,
Yeah.
So the last time Bitcoin was here, coin was at 283, MicroStrategy was at 200 or
it's all
less.
perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's underperformance from where it's been compared to the current price, right? So if Bitcoin was the one driving Coinbase, which it's not obviously because of how the price is acting here, and it is for MicroStrategy. So I guess that's just the difference.
Well, I mean, if anybody had used my little line that I had out here on coin and got long at 161, you'd be up 33%. So, hey, I mean, it's all perspective.
Yes, yes.
It's all perspective, right?
It is, it is.
I mean, a 70% loss is better than a 90% loss, right?
Sure. I guess, but ultimately I don't look at I look at longer term time frames, so that's where I start my focus.
Is
But
it like quarterly, yearly, decades?
yeah, so we
I
got
mean, that looks
longer
good.
we got long in the what 50s bags.
Yep.
Yeah, so based on that, we're crushing it, right? But
Yep.
um based on the last year, no, not so much.
Nope, not so much.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
the
it's
other
still a massive cup and handle. I think damn.
Oh, it is, but dude, the longer the handle gets, the worse
Yeah.
this becomes, right? And so I don't know, why wouldn't it be performing the same as MicroStrategy? I guess is the question I continue to ask. MicroStrategy tested the 200 SMA on the pullback. Coin was like 30% below it, right? Or
I mean,
40% below.
all it would take would be they paid their fine to the DOJ or SEC or whoever, and Bitcoin keeps ripping, and well, and there's
And
earnings report in 2 days, so
And MicroStrategy has earnings this week too. So that to me that they're all kind of the equal and is performing worse. So
yeah.
my spidey senses in this game for as long as when prices aren't behaving as they should, it's always good to have the devil on your shoulder saying, "What the fuck is wrong?" So that's all. And it could just be that they're accumulating and they're waiting for earnings or whatever to
To
launch.
release the hounds.
But when you don't hold the 200 SMA um, on a consolidation, that's always signs of something that wasn't right, right? So like now compare that same 200 SMA in MicroStrategy. It double bottomed at the 200 SMA. Bang and bang,
It's back
right?
above 200 now,
I,
for what it's
I
worth.
haven't. Yeah.
It's back above, but look how much pain it had to get to get there, right? And consolidated strong stocks don't do that.
They
So
don't show you pain; they only show you joy and euphoria.
yes. No, but they tend to hold where traders look for holding patterns, right?
Yeah,
So when they don't, then what's going on underneath is always going to be the question for me. Whether it's just games or not, and it's not anything fundamental, then that's fine. But you got to ask the question, right? Like, why is the market pushing up and Tesla going low days right now? I would say it's games, but we'll find out tomorrow. Because if that gap's
Nick.
down 10%, who knows?
Nick, we have 10 minutes left. Anything into the close that you're eyeing or see?
Um, I'm pounding the fucking table on my favorite boner pill, Pims, right now.
Hims. You're not pounding the table, you're pounding underneath the table.
Exactly. I think it's I mean it still hasn't broken out yet, but yeah, it's the biggest position I have on it right now.
Um, GP, anything that's tweaking you
Take a
into the
look at
close today?
little mini cap apps.
You
Yep.
love some app loving. No,
Not app
app's the
love
digital
apps.
turbine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take a look at the daily here.
Yeah, that's a pretty good looking chart.
It's a wedge breakout. It's a yeah, symmetrical triangle breakout. It's a lot of things.
That's a pretty little chart. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's not going the direction that I like charts to go, but as we've said countless times, anything can trade.
This is more of a it's more of a turnaround conversation actually here. because they actually reported back-to-back earnings growth and less losses, right? So whatever management has figured out, they have understood that profitability is where they need to get to. So that's monster volume and then consolidation kind of. It's very similar looking to Carvana when it bottomed.
Do you like it here or you like it above 415?
Versus 306 is my line.
All right. So you would do 306.
308 is the level, 306 is like the stop out
Yep.
area. Um, so yeah,
But
that's
over 415, like you've released the weekly 50, you're above some dead bodies here at these bottoms, these points in
yeah,
the past, right? Above that 415, it looks really solid.
yeah, over 415, it's on its way to, I think probably around 780, somewhere around there.
I've got on 420, but you guys can see where I'm
Yeah.
where I'm referencing on the chart by the dotted lines there.
And look at how it's performing today, right out the gate on a Monday. So um it's a low floater is also I like it in these types of names. The low floaters tend to perform better, especially if the small caps start to push and break out. So small caps start to push and break out only because the small caps sitting underneath are pushing and breaking out. So
I see what you're telling me, GP. I see it. I see
yeah,
it. I see it. Our friend Brad in the chat wants to know anything about Amazon with earnings coming up on Thursday. Well documented that I am very long Amazon. Um, I mean, I kind of quit relying on earnings to move this stock. What do you guys, what are your guys' thoughts about Thursday, or does it matter? We're all waiting till next week. GP,
I
don't
don't know
answer
about I don't know about the earnings, but it's a rounding bottom versus a rounding top the last time it was at this point. So whether it's earnings or Jeff Bezos stops selling or um I don't know, Prime Day or I have no clue what it's going to be. No, I'm not even going to guess because
that. Oh, we like it. We've talked about it. We like it. You still
yeah.
like it?
Yep,
Yeah.
Yes.
absolutely. But
Nick,
these
any
are
thoughts?
but none of these names are in the position to have 50, 60% moves anymore, right? These are extremely mature companies. So you're gonna get maybe a five, maybe on an outside chance, a 9 to 10% day to kind of release it out of its days. But this is a this is a company that does really well, and they do a little over 600 billion dollars in revenue. Unless that all of a sudden changes from 600 billion to 1.2 billion quarter to quarter, it's going to be hard to get a big move out of this.
Nick, anything to add on Amazon?
I'm just watching the 191, like price above 191. I don't have Amazon on currently, but if price is above 192 and I got the cash available, I'd throw a dart at it. But I like all the megas, so it's just kind of how it
So
just
you're
kind of,
you're buying on strength, is what I heard, right?
yeah, for sure. It just depends on how the dominoes fall this week. I don't care about a lot about next week. I care about this week.
Yep, that
So,
makes sense.
um, yeah, I mean, Amazon probably looks as close to the Qs as, I mean, the Amazon chart and the Qs almost look identical to me.
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
So I, GP, you're, as far as like the percentage move that you just referenced, you're talking about on an earnings reaction, not like a
Yeah.
whole.
On an earnings reaction. But
Okay.
if the earnings reaction is because of earnings expansion, then those moves tend to be over time, but not in one day, right? Like
Yeah.
these are such mature companies and such large sizes that it's going to be hard to move the needle more than 10% in a single day. But if it's 10% in a single day, you gotta read the earnings report to see what's causing that type of move. And if that's an expansion of margins in their AWS business, if they're spinning out AWS, all that stuff is going to be good stuff for it, but you need to see it. So,
Let me
right,
say,
like you just saw it in Tesla. It's margins expanded 2 quarters in a row. It's a trend. What does it do? It does a 22% day, right? So, and until that happened, the moves were 8, 9, 10% until it got. So yeah, it can build it over time. Amazon's not one of those stocks that's going to go from 190 to 360 in the next 6 months. Though it should, because what is it? The market cap's only like 1.5 trillion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it can and catch up.
Only
so
1.5 trillion.
I think what could really move, I don't want to go like conspiracy theory route, but like what I'm seeing in Minneapolis and St. Paul, if we see any kind of like civil unrest, like I could see Amazon absolutely ripping because we already had like the convenience store, like again, just the way things are, like you can't go into a Target and get toothpaste in St. Paul without having to get a clerk over to like unlock the toothpaste for you. So
Okay.
if I'm just saying in the cities, like if that's something that we see kind of come like post-election BS,
Yeah.
I think that could be a catalyst for Amazon to move quicker rather than not. But I, for the sake of everyone, I really hope that we don't see that.
Well,
Just
none of us want to see that.
right.
I mean, there might be a certain segment, but when I say none of us, none of the three of us want to see that. I hope that doesn't happen. And as we wind down the day, the Qs just ticked into the red. So the Qs are under right now.
Yeah.
What is that? About a almost 3/4 of a point down from the open. So not ideal if you were trying to trade to the long side today, but again, perspective. We don't really look at the daily that much, so not we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here near all-time highs,
Yeah,
right?
just some kind of probably. This was probably just people taking some money off the table heading into the week, I think.
90 seconds left in the day. Do
No,
we finish red or green on the Qs? Go.
it's that 25 540 level on the NQs. It's where the pivot high was from August. It has literally been a a point of resistance, and they just can't get past it. Even today, if you see the trades around 25 540 on the NQs, nonstop. It's unbelievable. But that's election stuff. I think we close. I don't care where we close.
Hey, GP, real quick, 1 minute left. Throw together a single game parlay for your Giants tonight versus the Steelers.
um, Giants score 0 points.
Woo!
Daniel Jones throws 3 interceptions, and Russell Wilson throws for 400 yards.
You'd put like 50 cents on that and probably win a lot of money.
Yes.
All right. Done and
Giants
done.
suck. Giants are that stubborn management that won't move on from a bad choice. So
Let's see. Well, I'm gonna throw that together real quick and see what that parlay looks like.
I'm interested. Is that even an option?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I can make it happen.
Okay. I'm curious.
Talk amongst yourselves while I finish this.
I was gonna say this is great. Red Monday, turnaround Tuesday, follow through Wednesday. We've got a sheep shake Thursday, and back to a strong close on Friday.
So rinse and repeat for the life and eternity of this market.
Oh, I mean, as long as we trend higher and individual names keep going, AMD going out strong, Goldman going out strong,
Apps
Microsoft.
going out strong. Wow. Close at 350.
Passing yards, Russell. I'm just going to do overs to give you just the Just an idea, GP. I'm not going to do the exact thing, but you can come close to that.
Yeah.
And Daniel Jones, 3 interceptions, you said?
So 2 interceptions.
2 interceptions? Sorry, Daniel. Interceptions thrown, we'll say the over. So yeah, that would be a pretty nice little parlay. I can't get you the exact number because it's not allowing me to parlay the interceptions. But yeah, that would be in the high hundreds for a low bet. If that's your thing, I think the Steelers probably rout the Giants tonight. GP, I'm sorry. You know, only one of us can have winning teams this week, and that's the Broncos. So
That's fair enough.
I almost wore my Broncos sweatshirt today, and I just didn't. Darn.
I like Bo Nix too, man. He's slowly picking up what the game is throwing at him, which is phenomenal to see. Progression, game over game, is always good. You see the Commanders game yesterday?
that was wild.
That
The
was
Bears thought they had it pulled off, and 99 times out of 100, that's a win for Chicago. But that was wild.
Oh, you know what was wild? You could almost see it, like they were making fun of the guy in the secondary for pointing to the fans, but when they were rushing, he got like a good 15 seconds to throw that ball, and he got his whole body to throw it into
Oh,
it.
it was a
They
70
had
yard throw in the air, right? Like it was
they
a 70-yard heave.
but they had all the time to get him more pressure, and they just kind of gave up. The line that was rushing, I'm like, yo, no, you have an opportunity. They were maybe like a foot away from sacking him, right? So I'm like,
It,
you got
it
to
was
push
pretty
through.
epic. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty epic. I yelled, "Oh my God!" when that happened because I saw the guy behind and I knew if he drops this, he's demoted to the practice squad.
But isn't the fundamental rule of Hail Marys to knock the ball down,
Knock the ball down.
down, down, down?
Not up, not back, not to your side, down.
Yes, and then you also have the genius that is Kyle Pitts. Did you see that he dropped the ball before the yard line, the goal
Yeah,
line?
yeah.
I don't know, man. How can you be paid these many millions of dollars and be this dumb?
Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. All right,
Um,
Holmes.
all right,
I'll text y'all later. We'll see how GP's parlay turns out.
sounds
But
good.
always great to check in with you, and we will holla at you next time.
All right,
Fellas.
later.